Brian, good to see you, my friend.
Well, it's great to see you too, Matt.
All right. So let's start with this here, Brian. Yesterday, real quick, House Bill 345 was introduced over on the Senate side in a hearing before the Senate Health and Welfare Committee. Um, we could get into the details of this bill, which is fine, but this is sort of the one that puts the guardrails on Medicaid expansion. It doesn't do a full repeal, but it's sort of a replacement now for a bill that already passed the House Bill 138, which got a lot of conservatives very excited about it. Again, it wasn't a full repeal like another bill is that's sitting in the House, but it does put on a lot of restrictions and work requirements and things of that nature. But there's still a lot of hype for House Bill 138, which wasn't getting a hearing apparently over on the Senate side. So there was an interesting exchange yesterday between Senator Glenita Zuiderveld and Representative Jordan Redman, both really good conservative folks. And she was curious. She didn't really dispute, the good things about House Bill 345, but she wanted to get out why they were looking at that bill and not 138. So let's watch this exchange.
Chair and Representative Redman, could you tell me how long you've been working on this piece of legislation?
Representative Redman.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Senator. I'm sorry. So this particular piece was really after House Bill 138 came across to the Senate. However, there's a lot of 138 in this, but I've been working on that since I think I first brought that bill two years ago. So,
A follow-up? Can you share with me who you've been working with on this legislation on the 345?
Yeah.
Representative Redman.
Madam Chair and Senator. A number of stakeholders have been involved. The good chairwoman, Senator Bierke and Senator Harris have all been involved in conversations. The Department of Health and Welfare has been involved in conversations. And like I said, a number of stakeholders have been involved as well.
And just one more.
Representative or Chairman Vandewater has been involved heavily in this conversation too.
I forgot he was behind me. I was trying to exclude him.
Senator Zuiderveld.
So if this bill is so much better than 138, why didn't we bring that one forward first?
Representative Redman.
Madam Chair and Senator Zuiderveld. I don't know that this bill is better necessarily. It's very different. I think that, originally I was really looking and focusing on the expansion population because that is, able-bodied adults, and I was really focused on that. However, I do think this has a lot of key pieces in it that kind of wraps up the entire Medicaid program, which I think can produce significant cost savings.
See, Senator Harris.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative, back on page 4, just a quick question.
All right, so you heard a little, it was very cordial, but it seemed to irritate Zuiderveld that they were, again, listening to this bill that seemed a bit different than the one that passed the House, that was 138. And rather than get into the merits of the bill here, this is sort of the situation where you've met resistance apparently with 138 in the Senate. And so you're trying to say, well, let's get something through and let's do 345. At what point do you say, no, we should stand up and fight for this one bill and then or not, and come up with a solution for something now and then come back later? I mean, there's a lot of political maneuvering that's happening right here.
Yes, from what I'm told, there's a pressure on the Senate from stakeholders. I guess you would say people, from the medical industry, pharma industry, who don't want changes to be made to Medicaid expansion, who are putting pressure on the Senate to not hear House Bill 138, which has those that trigger that if they don't get the waivers from the federal government to make changes to expansion, such as work requirements and program caps, then it would go away. And I think that has a lot of people worried, even though maybe it's a necessary thing to do. So yeah, they've brought this new bill, and there is some frustration that they're hearing this now before 138, because 138, like you said, it passed the House. It passed pretty handily, but it's just been sitting in the drawer of the chairman of the Senate Health and Welfare Committee. And here's 345, which has a lot of the same things, but it has a lot of other things too. like managed care, which was not part of 138. That was a separate idea, and it also doesn't have the trigger. Instead, it has a much weaker provision that would allow the Department of Health and Welfare to adjust its own budget to take, in case the federal government changes the amount of money that they give us for this program. So yeah, there is frustration out there, and however, it looks like this is the one that they're going to push through.
Yeah, well, it did pass that committee yesterday afternoon, and so it will head to the floor for some more debate, and we'll see where it heads.